Hi there, this is Dr. Whitcomb talking on Genomics 2, how to solve homocysteine. Homocysteine is a very interesting marker, but did you know that for every point over 7 you have a measurable increment as maybe as much as 15% per point of cognitive decline? So if you have a level of 14, that's doubling, which is horrible, which means lowering homocysteine might be one of the most valuable things you can do to lower your risk for Alzheimer's disease. Well, this is important. You should lower it. I was trained in internal medicine that your homocysteine is an indication that you need more B12 and methylfolate. And there are lots of supplements on the market that address that. They give you more methylfolate, and we worry a lot about our MTHFR genes. The problem is if you just pay attention to B12 and folate, maybe some B6, and you don't fix everything. There's a bunch of people who are left with homocysteines of 10 and 11, and how do you fix that? Well, the world of genomics is measuring your genes and see what genetic SNPs you have, single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNP, which are the genetic variability we find in our genes. And yes, you might find you have an MTHFR SNP, but that doesn't really explain what's going on and why we don't fix you with more methylfolate and B12. So along with the world of genomics, which measures your genes, is the emerging science of metabolomics or metabolomics, your metabolome. If I go through and measure every compound that's present in your blood, that's telling me what your genes are actually producing. You may have a SNP or two, but you don't know how active that makes your gene in aggregate and all the interplay between all the thousands of genes you have, whereas metabolomics does. And this is how it explains homocysteine. It turns out that homocysteine is actually, if I may make an analogy, the gauge on your gas tank. It's not the gas, it's the gauge. And it backs up when there is too much methylation demand. Methylation demand comes from two places: the production of creatine in your muscles and phosphatidylcholine in your nerves. And if you have too much demand, you'll get a enzyme called SAH, acetylmethionine, that is a on-off switch. It gets too high and it shuts down the whole methylation cycle completely. So you can't get rid of homocysteine. And what metabolomics teaches us is you actually have to manage the demand as opposed to, it's the pull rather than the push. That's very interesting. Well, how do you do that? Well, what your muscles are trying to make is choline. Take choline as a supplement. Then your muscles don't have to make it. Take phosphatidylcholine, so your nerves don't have to make that. That's the other side, 2 choline products. That's interesting. And while you're at it, take some N-acetylcysteine, NAC, because N-acetylcysteine helps you convert homocysteine down into glutathione, lowers your homocysteine that way, and you get more glutathione to boot. So you can suck some homocysteine out by taking it down into the glutathione pathway, but most importantly, you can do demand management and say, let's simply give you the supplements. You still need the B12, folate, and B6. You may still have an MTHFR gene, but that's just as important as the demand management and the choline and the phosphatidyl. What happens if you don't have enough phosphatidylcholine? Well, your body starts borrowing phosphatidyl products from single myelin. Your ceramides go up, your nerves get deprived of their appropriate phosphatidylcholine, they stop being as liquid and stop functioning as well, and that may be part of the pathway on high homocysteine is strongly tied to cognitive decline. The emerging fields of metabolomics and genomics are going to be how we define our lives going forward. And there have been giant steps in the last couple of years. GoodNow is now leading the charge on how to measure the metabolome around homocysteine and explains it. And you can fix it. And I've done it. And it works. Read about that. Google that. Look it up. Listen to this video again. Get yourself on some choline. But get your homocysteine fixed. It's the low-hanging fruit to prevent cognitive decline. And it's just food you're taking. Just the right stuff. Dr. John Whitcomb, Metabolomics explains homocysteine.